Ah, we made it. Something Murphy's Law. The reason for the delay today was our Facebook connection and our Twitter connection for the stream are busted. And of course, it doesn't let you know till you try to go live. So, we'll make do. Let's see what we've got here to start with today. Let me get back to what we were talking about today. I apologize for the discombobulation. I did not expect technical issues this morning. So, up today, we've got, first let's start and say it's National Drive Electric Week. And here are some of the stories that we're going to look at today. The button has landed. 2 weeks has finally arrived over 190 days later. Tesla versus bureaucrats. GM Bolt update. An EV that's probably a scam. Ford partners with Tesla co-founder J.B. Struble. And good news for the 100-mile range Mazda and more. So let's get into it. We'll see when our co-hosts join us as well. So let's start with, well, let's start in the order I got him in. Sorry. I agree, Anders. I should get rid of Facebook, except that we have a good portion of our viewers join us from Facebook every day. So gotta be where the people are. So first up, General Motors is unveiled their new EV motors that will power their Ultium brand vehicles. So the Cadillac Lyriq, the GM Hummer EV, and several others. I'm not sure what's so special about them except that they're new to GM. So it's the next generation after their Volt and Bolt motors. And this is actually kind of important because the Bolt motors are built by LG, like 70% of the rest of that car. So this is GM getting back into EVs for themselves. And some of the things they wanted to point out were 180 kilowatt front drive permanent magnet motor, 255 kilowatt rear and front drive permanent magnet motor. So I guess they're going for symmetrical if they do the big motors. And then a 62 kilowatt all-wheel drive assist induction motor. So I'm wondering if this will be paired with the large one, and then they'll just kind of help out up front or in the back, depending on how they have this set up. But I mean, it's good news. It's not terribly exciting to me, but it's what needs to be done to electrify all the things. Close that there. I need to find a better way to see the articles without covering your guys' chat. I'll work on that. All right, let's stop sharing. Then let's get on to more exciting news. And as you know, I worked the week as I ran into it. For the most part, I do shuffle around a little bit, but it makes it for makes it so that some of the stuff that I would talk about, you might think, "Oh, he's missing that." If I am missing it, drop it in the chat and we'll talk about it. But typically, I'm not. All right, why is this on top? Let's get that. I'll get into a couple Elon Musk tweets. Why not? Here we go. All right, so I don't remember what he was replying to because it was like a week ago, literally after we ended the show. So they deleted it. Elon says, "Remarkable how few people realize this capability exists. I think it's many think it's 5 years away. With public beta rollout in coming weeks, awareness should improve dramatically." I believe it was somebody saying that they couldn't understand why everybody thinks this is so far away. John at Silicon Valley Club asked, "How are you judging good behavior over the 7-day period?" Elon said that I probably already hearted these. Twitter forgets them a lot. Anyway, he says the Tesla insurance calculator will show status in real time, and tell you what actions are needed to be rated a good driver. And then I replied with, awesome. And then Kevin Smith asked him, when you said a week from Friday, what are you talking about? Because Elon was not very clear on that. It was implied that it was this Friday. And it kind of was. It was Saturday morning, but what are we going to do? Not much, obviously. Um, Come on, screen update. Come on. So this one's from Drive Tesla Canada. Oh, Anders, that is a good one. He said you never have to be cold in a an EV from GM. Oh, I wish I could reconnect the thing to it because I think it's just a credentials error. Like it just logged my token out. So Drive Tesla Canada was going further into the tweets about how it's going to work, and this one was important to me. John asked if you're on Autopilot, how does it calculate? And he said good, and I can confirm that that is true. I was going to grab my iPad and show you, but the blur on the camera won't show the iPad. Uh, and then he also asked, Jason Hess asked if FSD subscribers would be eligible for the beta. And the answer to that was yes. And that was the importance of that article. And then to the same topic that Sawyer was talking about, Sawyer got a tweet from one of his followers on a parking lot with a picture. It says, for customer safety, Chevrolet Bolt EVs are strictly prohibited from entering this facility. Thank you for your compliance. I don't blame them because to have a 50-foot radius, as we discussed previously, that's at least 8 spots that are lost. And if you make your money by selling spots, that's quite a few spots that you miss, which is unfortunate. Okay, let's see what people said to that. Remember when BMW called their cars 2 years ago because they could just catch fire? No BMW outcast back then because people in the media didn't care. Yes, and I keep referring to this. This was all over the East, Australia, New Zealand, Asia. BMWs were just catching fire because they didn't know why the 12-volt system had some kind of flaw. Um, let's close this. Say hello to Zach, and then uh, some Omar sent us a photo. Oh, so Omar just left the St. Louis Arch, so they're on the road, and it's not safe to drive and live stream. So let's see here. We've got screen share this one. Come on. They got to make this process faster. So SpaceX is getting their orbital Starship launch ready. So they have been doing testing on the tank farm, and I thought this was the one, but it's not. They are getting the cryo shells, which help keep the liquid cryogenically cooled gases in that state with less energy expenditure. And so I really don't think I have that one in there. But they've got these big rubber balls that they put on the outside of the tank as it comes down on the inside of the tank. That way it doesn't collide with it. And that was pretty interesting to me. And nope, that's not in here. Let's get to more fun stuff. So this one, I'll talk to you guys about. It made me a little upset because it's uncalled for, it's unnecessary, and it's pig-headed and wrong. So the NTSB chief says that Tesla should focus on basic safety issues, and she's referring to the fact that Tesla's under investigation for the way that they have had a handful of vehicles collide with emergency responders. And her main issue is the naming of the features, which is just stupid because other than the backseat bandit, nobody actually believes these cars are self-driving today, especially people in that actually have the full self-driving beta program. Everyone else knows their car isn't self-driving because it tries to kill you once a month. It's just, oh yeah, let's just run over here. It's like, no, I've got this. I I'm so frustrated with people who think that just because it's called something, and then immediately has let me see if I can show a picture of my phone, because I took a picture of it because it was annoying me so bad. Da, da, da. No, that's not the right one. Ah, here we go. Let's see if I can't. Whoa, come back. See if I can't share that with you guys. Click open in photos. Yeah, sure, photos is fine. Screen. I'm gonna share an app. Come on. I'm gonna share this app. Hopefully it doesn't crash the stream. Oh, there it goes. All right, so when you are in the car, as well as when you try to buy the feature, the car says very clearly that you are responsible. I agree, Exotic Geeks. Hello, Robert William. Yeah, so her argument about it being named poorly. I mean, I get that any Joe Blow off the street doesn't understand that the car doesn't drive itself, but they don't have to be worried about that because they're not driving. And if you hit a pedestrian or you hit another car, there are already laws in place for that. You're not gonna have a nice day after you hit a pedestrian or another auto. So let's go back to this article and her reasoning and allegations. She said that where did they put it? Basic safety issues have to be addressed before they're expanding into city streets and other areas. The other problem with her naive interpretation of everything is that with a regular car, it's fixed in how it is going to perform forever. It doesn't, it's done. So in that case, her argument should be applied to all of the automakers, the same way that they've all been called up to give data on how their programs work. But then her other logical fallacy here is that Tesla does update their cars, and the only way to get these improvements that she wants, other than renaming it, is to update the fleet. Tesla stopped updating basic autopilot over a year ago. So the only way to get any new improvements is to continue to push the full self-driving beta program forward. It's not the only way, but it's the only reasonable way, because if you drop everything and go back, that's just a waste of resources. It's pretty. It's not a very smart way to do it. That's. I don't know. What do you guys think about this situation here with all the way these people, especially, people who should know better, regulators, just harping on the name of the system? I mean, yes, they could have probably picked a name that was more accessible to folks who don't understand stuff, but I mean, autopilot is literally the definition of autopilot. In fact, let's look that up now. Definition of autopilot. All right. Sure, for automatic pilots. Here we go. A navigational device that automatically keeps ships or planes or spacecraft on a steady course. Robot pilot, automatic pilot device, instrumentality invented for a particular purpose. The device is small enough to wear on your wrist. That's not the same thing. What the heck? Anyway, basically, you just set it and it will follow a course. It's not meant to be left unattended. And in fact, the original versions of cruise control were called automatic pilot or autopilot because they did exactly that. They held your speed, and that you had to drive the car. And I found out later that the reason that we stopped calling it that wasn't because of the apocryphal stories of the old man who jumped in the back of his RV to take a nap after setting the automatic pilot. No, no, no. It was because The same way that Kleenex became synonymous with tissues and Xerox became synonymous with taking copies of documents and putting them back onto another piece of paper, cruise control became the more popular term and it won out. And in fact, some automakers still call their cruise control something else. Let's see what we got here. Facts. Yes. Let's don't forget she made these statements on a podcast by a self-proclaimed. Yes, that's another very, very good point. So the podcast that she was invited on is not at all impartial. It wasn't news. It was an opinion podcast by people who are very anti-Tesla, and they don't hide it. Some of them are shorts. Others are just grumpy and they don't like Tesla. So let's not forget that she made these statements on a podcast by self-proclaimed self-driving experts who created the website Tesla Death Watch and Ad Niedermeyer, who is currently masquerading as an expert. I've had a chance to speak with Niedermeyer. He does know a lot of what he's talking about, but I think a lot of times it's in his interest not to understand stuff. And so we could be having a discussion on something, and all of a sudden, it's very high level, and all of a sudden, it's like I hit a wall. It's like he doesn't understand. It's like, what do you mean you don't understand this very basic concept? Well, his livelihood depends on not understanding it. So, regulators are people, hence flawed. Agreed. But there are ethics in government that you're supposed to adhere to, and that I think goes against it. Especially if you're actively investigating somebody, you shouldn't be discussing them on a podcast. Zach says that Ed pretends to be an expert on technology that doesn't exist, and he's a well-known Tesla agent for many years with connection to Tesla Q and Toyota. Yes, yes. Even an airplane autopilot needs a pilot. Exactly, a pilot, and generally a co-pilot. And in fact, GM calls theirs co-pilot, and that is also kind of misleading because, or not GM, is it GM? Whoever calls theirs co-pilot, I think it's GM or Ford, but Super Cruise, that's GM. Co-pilot is Ford. Even with those, it's not like a regular co-pilot where you can just hand the controls off for a little bit and not pay attention. You are still in control. Yeah. So let's see what we got here. Let's get to something a little less infuriating. We've got more Musk tweets. So this is in response to. Let's just scroll up. So Ray for Tesla is asking about Giga Russia because some folks are saying that Russian officials are reporting that Elon Musk has decided to build Tesla's plant in Russia, in the city of Korolev, which, just like when Mr. Governor Greg Abbott was trying to put words in Elon's mouth, Elon immediately comes to the table and says, "Not quite." But because he's not trying to curry political favor with these folks, he he doesn't have to be as nice about it. He says Tesla has not yet decided on a fourth Gigafactory location, and because he's too nice, he doesn't call them liars. He says, "I wish you'd waited for everyone to write crazy articles about Russia, then say you hadn't decided." And I said that I'm glad he didn't. There's enough insane stuff out there getting people foaming at the mouth at Elon's existence and then minding his wallet. A lot of people just seem just obsessed with the fact that this guy has got, billions of dollars on paper, even though he's probably pretty cash poor. So there is going to be another Gigafactory. Elon has said in the past that he wants one on every continent, and I just don't see the practicality of putting one in Russia. It's not a very big market for them as consumers. It doesn't really have anything special to add for them to want to go there and build. It's not like tax breaks or anything like that. Or, I mean, they do have resources, but they have resources in China, they have resources in India, and they are building facilities and have facilities in those places. It just, It doesn't seem right, especially when you consider all the Russian spy attacks that they've had at Giga Nevada and Tesla Fremont from not necessarily the Russian government, but definitely the Russian government. It's uh, I would like to see a Giga Australia, but that's almost as bad as the Russian equation, except that they actually have a reasonable amount of customers in Australia. So we'll see what happens with. In Wales, I think you guys have the Brexit problem for them because now everything becomes an export. They can't just use the single market. But you guys have so many customers that it made sense to have an assembly plant. So I don't see them skipping the UK because that's a very good market. I just don't know that it's enough that they would build a ginormous factory there. Maybe like a smaller, like a depot or something like they had before. But they closed that one because Giga Berlin is expected to take all of that capacity and take care of what they need. However, if they keep growing like they've been growing, I think that we'll see some more dedicated facilities in the UK. I understand that. Mine just did an update on I want to say Saturday night, and it did it on its own. I was like, oh my goodness, this would have happened on Sunday when I woke it up, and in Wales they had it in. It was in I want to say it was in Swindon, not in Wales. Yeah. So then I had this article come about. Did I actually click it? I did. Okay, cool. Sometimes my search is to leave the window that the search came up with, and I did that because Bloomberg was the one who had this article, and I'm over my free articles on Bloomberg. And let's take a look here. So, as I alluded to in the preview, we've never used the Detroit News on here, so let's zoom it up. GM says it has a Bolt battery fix, say that a couple times fast, and will replace the modules. So in October, they will start receiving shipments from LG to replace the battery modules on the Bolt EV. And this is good news for our friends with Bolts because having a ticking time bomb in your driveway is not a good feeling. I'm just saying. And then as we saw with those parking lots, that was I think the third different parking lot provider that had a sign that said, "Nah, nah, get out." and 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 they're protecting their other customers, and I understand that. So the next difficult problem becomes then how do you prove that you got the recall so that you can then be allowed to park in public again because you don't really need a car to just sit in the driveway. What's the point, right? That also solves the other question that we had about the Ultium batteries because LG is making the cells for the Ultium batteries and then GM is assembling them into packs, and since they are still pouch cells in the Ultium batteries, it became a concern as to whether those would be safe as well or if they would be on time, and it's imperative that they arrive on time because you've got the Hummer EV, you've got the Cadillac Lyric, you've got a bunch of other vehicles coming out next year that need these Ultium cells, and so or Ultium packs, I should say. So this is good news for GM. We'll see how it actually plays. Come on, scroll. You can scroll. Someone in England talking the plants was meant to be sent pictures here before. Hmm. I liked what I saw of it. Was it Tilburg? That one looked really cool. It was from the outside anyway. It was sleek and modern and had a lot of greenery and water. I liked the way it was. So the next one we've got a story from Drive Tesla Canada again, and they are talking about an experience that someone had with a mobile Ranger. And as usual, it was a pleasant experience with a mobile Ranger. And I don't know what it is about the mobile service team that just makes them so much better than any other service I've ever experienced with automobiles. But time and time again. I mean, some are just merely good, but some of them are just like this, which are just stellar. So this gentleman here was supercharging late at night, and I think his wife sent him to get diapers or something to that effect. So he plugs in the supercharger, he waves at the tech, and then he goes over to, was it Walmart or Target or whatever, and the tech, he was supercharging, and he went and looked up the VIN, saw that the car had open bulletins for the upper control arms resealing, which my car was to schedule for, but then they failed. So now I'm getting new upper control arms at my cost. Uh, he offered to reseal these guys for him right here. So let's see how it went down. He parked next to the Ranger. The Ranger called him and found out that he needed to reseal them. So he did, with permission, of course, because you need permission before you use your Tesla credentials to open a car. And the only way to get this repair done is to open the frunk and remove the tub. And so that was what the call was about, aside from just asking if he had time. All right, so then by the time he returned, 30 minutes later, the repair was done. And at 1 in the morning, he received a invoice stating that it was done under warranty, and he was good to go. What about you guys? Have you guys had any experiences with mobile service from Tesla or anyone else? I mean, I know they have like mobile locksmiths and stuff, but I just find it to be, especially the fact that they don't charge extra for it anymore. When I first got my first Tesla, it was several dollars per mile for them to show up. And then a couple months into my ownership, it turned to $100 per visit, which I thought was a great deal because for me, it was 4 hours each way to the service center. And then it became free. And so then that was my default way to get my vehicle serviced when it needed it. And I've only had one not so great experience with it, and it wasn't even their fault. It was because the service center didn't put in a place that the tech could see where I was going to be. And he showed up at the wrong place, or she showed up at the wrong place, and called the phone I didn't have on me repeatedly, and then left because they thought that I was ignoring them. But then again, the very next day they came in, they did that service correctly, and I was good to go. I think that one was my 12-volt battery back in fall of 2019. So that was fun. But yeah, I highly recommend Tesla mobile service, and I've seen a few other shops. Like I actually sent out some mobile work when I worked at Honda. Was that one at Honda? Yeah, it wasn't at Chevy. I worked at Chevy when I had my Volts. But it wasn't common. You had to fight for it, and it was just not at all like what you get with Tesla. All right, let's see some more fun stuff. We've got, speaking of Australia, the Tesla Model Y is now approved for road use in Australia. So it's got its homologation certificate, and I expect to see several shiploads of Model Ys come in. I don't know if it's going to be this month because we've only got 4 days left, but we saw already that the Model Y, as it's coming into new locations, it's setting records, day one records, just boom, best-selling EV, or not necessarily EV, but SUV or whatever, just on day one, which I think is pretty cool. All right, so then here's a little bit about the certificate. They are allowed to tow a braked trailer at 1,600 kilograms, and their gross vehicle mass is 2,300 kilograms. Tare mass of 1,900 kilograms. I wonder what they're carrying these things on. Are they in a crate? Because that's substantial. Anything interesting in the filing? Nothing stands out to me. But that's good news. So those of you who've been waiting forever on a Model Y in Australia are good to go. Blocked me on Twitter only after I asked him, can you state that you never received money from Toyota and Tesla Q? If he never receives money from them, he could simply say that. Um, I was blocked by him for a minute, but we came to an understanding there. That's sent it to me without telling me to put it in the computer shop, so they can't download nothing. Oh man. All right, so we've got a distance record set by a non-Tesla. Let's take a look at that. This is coming from Drive Tesla Canada. The Audi E-Tron has now set a cross Canada EV trip record. Here you can see their plan on the side of their car. This is quite a feat because, as we know, not all of the non Tesla fast chargers are reliable. So, in 4 days and 19 hours, these two folks took their e-tron from the eastern tip of Canada and St. John's, Newfoundland, to mile zero in Victoria. Not bad. See, they started in St. John's before 9 a.m. on September 13th, dipping the front wheels of the Audi in the Atlantic Ocean. I don't know. I would put my EV in salt water. Just saying. And then under 5 days later, and many Petro Canada, Electrify Canada, because Electrify Canada is pretty much the same thing as Electrify America. It's the VW punishment money that really ends up helping them. So some punishment. Uh, they arrived a few minutes before midnight. Due to the time of night, they didn't take their ceremonial dip in the Pacific Ocean until the next day. Again, I wouldn't put my EV in salt water. Just saying. Well, that's cool. I mean, I was just arguing with a guy in somewhere in Europe, and he was saying that what was he saying? He was saying that he could very quickly get a trip across somewhere, or he couldn't very quickly get a trip across somewhere. And my response was that I could do the whole U.S. in just over 3 days. Somebody else misinterpreted that, probably deliberately, to say that. Um, how did they say that? Oh, they took it to say that that I could do it in 3 charges, which is just asinine, because there are no EVs that can have that kind of range to do the U.S. in 3 charges. Not ones for sale anyway. And then somebody else, or I think it was the same guy, said that they could do it in 2 fills of their diesel, and I responded that that's unlikely because from LA to New York is over 2,000 miles, and if you cut that in half for his 2 fills that he claimed, you're looking at 1394.5 miles. And unless you've got a custom tank or driving at an unsafe speed, there's no way you can cross the U.S. in 2 tanks of diesel in a car. Now, if you are in a big rig or something and you don't have a load and you're also going unsafely fast, as in slow, I can kind of see that, but I don't think so. Question: Dad bought ST, but was stopped by the government. He never got to use it, and then was burnt. Bought entitled a refund or something he never got to use. Um, no, they should. If he bought it with the car like I did, then it should be calculated in on the insurance. If you bought it after the fact, then it will depend on who your insurance is, because my insurance company, if I bought it after the fact, would treat it like an accessory, and they would not give me any money for it. So that's why I made sure that it was on my window sticker. But I have a couple of acquaintances whose insurance company did pay them for a portion of their FSD price when their car was totaled. So it's really something you're gonna have to ask your insurance agent about to see if if you get any money back. Unless, like I said, it was already on the sticker as a item that counted, because then you're good. Got a fun one here. Got a Mach E that's been inducted into the Montgomery County Police Department in Maryland. We were just talking about them the other day. I believe that one was with the crossing guard who said that she was hit by the Model 3 when she actually hit the Model 3 herself. But that's kind of cool. Electrify all the things. Especially as we keep talking about, which you've got your idling, you've got the maintenance. I think that they're going to find they enjoy this over the other vehicles that they could choose. I don't know that this one would be for any sort of prisoner transport because the headroom is actually here. The legroom is way up in here, so that'll be interesting. There's another view of it. I actually kind of like these wheels. I like this not stealth. That's always kind of annoying with the Tesla police cars. Some of them are stealth, and that's not cool, man. All right, let's go on to the next one. So this one was interesting to me. Elon and Jana at Tesla put up a link to this article about how Tesla donated a solar roof to the Buffalo Heritage Carousel at Canalside in Buffalo, New York. So here we can see it getting installed. Here we can see one of the cells. And there was an elevation of it right there. I guess here they were restoring the horses. It's kind of cool. All right, so let's go on to something a little more exciting about it and show you this screen. Come on. I had to mute the music because I don't know what kind of music they're working with. So this is Tesla's tweet of the Heritage Carousel with its solar roof installed. I mean, look at these solar roofs. They are like Elon said that you're going to bring people up to look at the roof and they're going to marvel how beautiful it is. I thought he was joking until I saw my first 3 solar roofs in person, and each one was just like, oh my goodness, that looks super cool. I mean, the other thing about this is, you always have all the dealerships talking about how Tesla can't do what they do as far as philanthropic work, donating to the Little League, taking care of items that happen in town. And here we can see that's once again not true, as Tesla helps them get this carousel back online. And if the way that the solar roof is set up, if there are even half as many active panels as I think they are, they're probably actually making money exporting some power as well, or at least they're able to run the carousel and the office that goes with it, which is just cool to me. Shrink this back down. He says it'd be funny going to carousel ride when there's a power outage. This is true because of batteries. Um, Meanwhile, solar roof in Russia. All right, let's close this one and see how we're doing on topics. Come on, computer. There you go. So this is a fun one. We've got a friend in um, California. She drives not necessarily a prototype, but one of the early releases of this solo car. And they're going to start on the 4th for regular serial deliveries of the non-special first release cars. And I, as Nikki talked about the price on this thing, it's a good footprint. It's a great concept. I don't know. I don't know about the price personally, but the cool thing here is, wait, no, never mind. I take that back. It's only got 3 wheels, so it counts as a motorcycle. So unless the new tax credit includes, just that it's enclosed, then it will count as a motorcycle. But they have a point. Most commutes are done with one person in the vehicle. And it actually took me until she got her car to realize why they called it solo, is that it only had one chair. I don't know why I always thought that it was just like a motorcycle with one person in the front and one person in the back, like some of the other EVs. The rear of it is kind of funny to me. It's not a bad little car. It's just I wouldn't pay as much as they charge for it. But it has also come down in price, was my understanding. I think it used to be in the mid 20s. So in the low or in the high teens is not as bad. There we go. I'm going for if I'm going for a 3-wheeler though, I'm gonna go for that Aptera. So let's go back to Ford and the Mach-E again. So Jim Levine was talking about the Model Y. There were a couple of Model Ys that the roofs weren't properly attached, and they allegedly detached. Um, well, Drive Tesla Canada titled it "Fate Loves Irony." Ford recalls the Mach E over concerns over the glass roof and windshield may come off. So that's what we say. The way I've responded to it was I said those with glass roofs shouldn't throw stones. There were a couple of good responses to that, but I tweet so much that it's going to be difficult for me to find the tweet. So they're going to call 5,000 Mach-E's over build quality issues, and the Canadian recall is Transport Canada 2021-561 as of September 15th. And it's the same problem that a couple of those Model Ys had. The adhesive used to install the panoramic roof glass was not sufficient. Oops. And there's a separate one, 2021.560, about the windshield detaching. That's significantly more dangerous for the driver. The roof coming off is dangerous for the people around you. And so far it appears to only be Canadian Mach-E's. But the NHTSA only lists the recall for loose subframe bolts. I always find the way that they do the tracking for these recalls to be quite interesting. And again, also why I found it mind-boggling how they're handling the bolts situation with their recall, because that's a bunch of parts not made by GM. It's interesting to me. Then, speaking of sales, computer. Mark Benton was on the order page for the Model Y, and he tried to order one, and he pointed out that it's now March 22 for a estimated delivery date. That's incredible because we're sitting here in September. So if you order today, it'll be at least 6 months before you get your car. Sold out for 2 quarters, basically. See if anybody had anything to say about that. Okay, so it wasn't for him. He was helping somebody out. Ah, so have any of you tried to buy a new one lately? Like, I know we had a couple friends who bought long ranges and plaids on the Model S, and it was quite an adventure for you all. So I'm also curious on the smaller cars. And this one was interesting, and I wonder if it would have been as not really safe. I wonder if the outcome would have been as favorable had it been any other combination of cars, because the Model X is it's a 6,000 pound automobile, and the Model 3 is about 4,000 pounds. So, what happened here was a group of drunk teenage girls borrowed a Model X and made a mess of things. They collided with this, obviously, the turf and this Model 3. The Model 3, they don't know if it's going to be totaled or not. This was human pilot. There's no autopilot involved. There's no reason to drive drunk, as we said last week. It's not cool. Don't do it. And I don't know. It's just I can only imagine what would have happened if this had collided with some Meccano box that was like 20 years old, like it's common around here. And if you're drunk, take an Uber. Get a friend to drive. Make sure your friend hasn't been drinking. So the guy whose car was hit says, Tesla saved my life, and the drunk driving kids too. All right. This one was a little more less depressing, I'd say. SpaceX is getting a draft review of their proposal for their launch stance, And it's looking like, I'm sorry, not launch tests, the orbital towers. I like to be precise when it comes to the SpaceX stuff so I don't get grilled. uh, some folks phrase it as that they might have to tear everything down. I don't think that the government would do that unless they had an egregious violation, as much as it would just be, here are the things you need to remedy to keep that tower standing. So, this environmental assessment is released by the FAA, but they actually have to work with the EPA to clear everything up before the FAA will continue and give them their permits. So it doesn't seem to matter where Tesla and SpaceX build, they gotta worry about the environmental stuff. But it all works out because they're trying to make sure that they don't mess with any endangered species. In fact, I don't know if I have it in this show or not, but they have a similar situation going on in their expansion in Florida, where they have to watch out for several endangered species, including a black snake. And well, I don't have any fears that they're going to have kind of sail on through and do the right thing. Estimated delivery time for Model Y long range in Sweden is November of 2021. Oh my goodness, that's almost the end of the quarter. So speaking of Model Y, in the UAE, you can now order a Model Y. Let's see if it says when they're going to get theirs. Gonna set you back 81.6 grand Canadian, a fair premium over North America. So what we know about the way that Tesla does this is that they include all the taxes and fees and everything involved in getting the car to you. And then if it's a place that includes taxes in the sale, they'll do that as well. If it's a place like the US where the taxes are separate, they're not going to do that. So as the prices come up and down in the US, then they will, on a lag, make them all even worldwide. Except for in those cases where they're trying to do a push, like a discount. Oh, I'm wearing my Falcon Heavy shirt today. The camera doesn't want to participate. There it is. Ah! Oh, wrong side. There. So yeah, as we see that that's about the same price for their full self-driving. I think it's probably a slight discount because they can't do as much with it over there. There we go. Giga Berlin is accepting applications for training. So if you want to intern there, you can get some experience and then possibly get yourself a good permanent job. Then you just go to tesla.com/jobs. Find out. Careers. I don't know. Either way, if you're interested in that, find this article on Tasmanian and then go over to the Tesla site and submit your application for internship at Tesla Giga Berlin. But the fact that they're doing that means that they are almost ready to go because you don't need interns without employees. And if that's the case, then you're getting real close. So this one was interesting to me and super confusing because of physics. John Snyder is reporting that the Michigan governor, Gretchen Whitmer, says that the state will be the first to deploy wireless EV on-road charging, and they're looking for partners, with no other details given. So we've seen on-road EV charging prototypes, and it also exists in the form of some buses with the arm that comes up and charges inductively or conductively. We've seen it with trolley cars, street cars. So it's not really. I mean, those were not wireless, but the ones that we saw that were in the road were definitely wireless. Those prototypes, and what we find is that it increases the cost of the vehicles, increases the cost of the roads, and the efficiency is incredibly low. And with modern EVs, you don't really need this. It would be a nice to have to not have to stop, but with the human situation is you're going to have to stop to eat and use the restroom. And hopefully stretch your legs because you don't want to have any thrombosis. But I don't know where they're going with this. It just doesn't make sense because you also consider that Michigan has some really terrible roads. So if they can't maintain just rock and asphalt and tarmac, how are they going to maintain technology to go with it? So let's see what the responses are. He says it's a shame that so few politicians have a technical education, much less a practical understanding of it. I fully support EVs, but it's just a colossal waste of money that would be better spent on normal charging stations. Exactly. You could pepper the state with EVs, or EVs, EV charging stations, and be done. And then still have money left over to fix your local roads. With stunningly world class boulevards and avenues, Michigan is surely worthy and ready for such advanced technologies. Okay, that's not related. But I mean, what do y'all think of that? Wireless charging while you're on road trips? Because surely it's not necessary for around town, as we've seen. Yep. Right, so Drive Tesla Canada is reporting that you can get Tesla Model 3 in inventory. And this is before orders were filled, which is interesting. So I'm guessing what happened here is that some orders fell through or would not be picked up by quarter end, as we saw with both Stephanie and Omar, where their vehicles were sold out from under them because they wouldn't be able to pick them up in time for Tesla to report them. And then they were both replaced. But, Omar got his a lot faster than Stephanie did. So these cars are probably long gone because this was 5 days ago, and the long range and the plaid are very popular. But then that rolls into another article by Drive Tesla Canada. Come on, computer. Got a real fast computer. I don't think it likes all the tabs I've done. There's got all the tabs open and ready. So now Tesla is beginning the international deliveries of the refreshed Model S in Canada, same day. So if you did have one on order, it was dropped off and you were good to go. Not bad. I like the S balloons. uh, so this is exciting because these are the first deliveries of the Model S plaid and long range outside of the U.S. And you've got all these people who've been waiting months for their cars. This is super exciting. And here's another one. It'll be curious to see what the differences are in the Canadian models. There usually are a few, but they're not usually that significant. So there'd be a scheme where they would have roadside charging, and that would go to fund the roads as well as tax. That would be cool, but how are they going to meter that? Would your car just keep track of what it pulled from the road and where? Yes, that's right. That's right. Marcus also had his Model S Plaid sold out from under him because he couldn't pick it up in the time that they just sprung it on him. He'd been waiting months and months, and then all of a sudden it showed up while he was out of town, and they're like, "Oh, you can't make it here by tomorrow." And then he sees his car on YouTube with somebody else. But that's all right. EV Smoke replacement, the new EV Smoke is something phenomenal, and Marcus has got some stuff to show us very soon, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. All right, so let's also share this. I was just talking about over-the-air updates when it came to Tesla fixing the alleged problems with full self-driving and autopilot. Well, Volkswagen has finally done an over-the-air update. We've seen Ford do one or two of these. We've seen Tesla do them at least once a month since they came out with the Model S. And this is an important step into the future to be able to update your car over the air. The main problem with the way that the classic manufacturers do this is they are really just bug fixes. They might bring in some features that they promised. They might bring in some stuff that you can pay for. But typically, their dealers really don't like them making the car more pleasant. They want you to get the next model year. Come in, trade it in, buy another one. So this is something they promised. And how long has the Volkswagen been on sale? Over a year now? and it also didn't have it famously when they were all in a lot waiting to be sold because they had to send engineers with USB sticks or laptops to every car in the field where they were just waiting for this final software update to be delivered. Whereas we see with Tesla and now with Ford, you can just push it from a server and they all take it. Which, welcome to the future, Volkswagen. Glad to have you. Because the ID4 is a very competent car, I would call it the Camry of EVs. It's not fast. It's not fun. It's it's good. It's competent. It does what it's supposed to do. Yeah. All right. So then we got another article about GM resuming production of the Bolt, but as we know, that's not actually accurate. It'll be next week or so in October. This one was fun to me to the point that I shared it on What Drives Us show last week or this week past. Inside EVs reports that more than 25 countries and US states are planning gas car bans. Evanex actually gave it to Inside EVs. So here's the list of the countries. I was able to fit them all on one screen last time. Can I do it again? I can. Look at that. Okay, so obviously we all know about Norway. They're in 2025. Costa Rica is running up with 2050, which is a long time. And then this one here was just announced New York in 2035. And all the California emission states can just copy California and they get the 2035 easy. But one that stood out to me was where'd they go? It's another US state, Washington, at 2030. Theirs is 5 years shorter, so I'm curious what mechanism they're using to do this because it can't be the environmental auto regs because then they would have to match California. And then I asked Mark at the Tesla Life, I asked him why Canada is listed with two separate years, and we came to the conclusion it's probably provincial. So some provinces are doing it before the nation, which is fine. But this is what we need because we're running out of time to limit the impacts of climate change, of human induced climate change. Obviously, the climate's still going to continue to change without us, but we don't need to pour gasoline on the fire, if you will. And it's to the point now that Miami is threatened. No matter who you ask, Miami is threatened. It's going to flood. New Orleans is struggling to survive, and we've already started to lose nations. There are several islands like Maldives that have lost some of their land, like whole islands just gone because of sea level rise. We had mass fires. What, 3 years now? The ice in the Arctic is gone by summertime. It should just still be there, and it's gone by summertime to the point where you can make a transarctic journey, which is not good. So it's good to see some steps in the right direction. And then I discussed that I think that these years, while some of them are pessimistic, we'll see like in Norway where you don't want to be the bag holder with a combustion car by the time the deadline comes up. So we're going to actually probably see all of these happen a little bit sooner than the country has asked for, which is a good thing because those are deadlines, not goals. Some of them are implemented as goals, which is unfortunate, but it'll take care of itself. What do y'all think about those dates? Like, are they too conservative? Are they too aggressive? I mean, obviously, the ones that don't have any meat on how to achieve that. Yep, gas car bans, baby. What will they be calling the Tesla Model S Plaid? Have the rights to the name as not to be used? That's a good question. Um, they might have a regional name there where they to get around that, or they'll license it if it's not too expensive. It's easier that way. We'll see what they do with it. So in the intro, I talked about Ford and JB Strobel having a partnership. So JB's company, Redwood Materials, is now joining up with Ford for a battery recycling deal. And as we discussed several times, Redwood wants to recycle all the batteries because when you are starting from a point of already mined materials, you don't have to go mine them again. And if you can put them out at a battery purity, then you have a market that nobody else is, not nobody else, but very few people are currently servicing today. Most of their competitors for battery recycling are recovering the metals, but they're not recovering them at battery grade. So this is exciting to see because we always hear from those people like, oh, batteries, what are you going to do? You're going to throw them in the landfill, blah, blah, blah. Nobody's throwing away a battery that's worth $10,000 used that doesn't even hold a charge. It's just not going to happen. So, just further rebuttal to those inane arguments. All right, so this one isn't exactly cars, but it does fit with what we're doing because it's environmental. Talk about ocean plastic. Microsoft has a new mouse that they announced at their Microsoft Surface event that is made, the outer shell is made from 20% recaptured ocean plastic. And I was always wondering when we do start to address our problem of these gigantic gyres filled with our waste plastic out in the ocean, what were we going to do with them? Were we going to landfill them? What were we going to do? Because it's still plastic. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. So this is kind of cool to see that they are actually, melting it down and turning it into another consumer product. Let's see if this. Okay, good, it's muted. Microsoft and Apple really love music I can't afford. And so a lot of the plastic isn't even consumer plastics. Like they showed those fishing nets. A lot of it is industrial waste. It's not all consumers, but that doesn't mean that we should be dumping our to-go cups and water bottles down the storm drain because this is disgusting.
Primarily made of plastic.
Okay, so they've got music on that. And so they show how they went through a bunch of different iterations to try and get one that would be durable, comfortable, and have the right hand feel because with a mouse, this is a Microsoft mouse as well, you're going to be touching it all day. So it needs to stand up to your oils of your skin, and it can't be something that's going to irritate your skin. So you can't have like nickel. A lot of people have a nickel allergy. And so it's good to see, as we discussed several times in the past, Microsoft has stated that they're going to be carbon negative to the point where they are carbon negative for their customers. And this is a step in that direction because if you're removing waste, that goes the right way because plastic is carbon. So if you remove it from the environment, great job. They're talking about their packaging. What do y'all think about this? I mean, I know it's tiny. 20% is like next to nothing, but it is a try. It is a step in the right direction. What do y'all feel about Microsoft making their mice out of ocean plastic? And very nice. I guess I'm about to restart after the show. So Drive Tesla Canada reports that Giga Berlin is opening their objection hearing. So you can, if you have a problem, like all the astroturfers do with Tesla Giga Berlin, the government is going to listen. Tesla will listen, and they will address any legitimate concerns that exist. As we've seen, there are concerns over the water usage and the cardboard forest. Like, look at that; it's all one breed. It's a forest that's planted as a crop to be harvested to make cardboard boxes. So, as we've said several times, that we call them astroturfers because they appear to be environmentalists on the outside, but if you follow the money, some of them are in league with the local other automakers, and it looks like they're just trying to make it harder for the competition to exist. which is a shame because you should compete on your merits, not on schemes. All right, so you all know I like crash tests, and the 2021 Volkswagen ID4 has earned a Safety Pick Plus. And let's take a look. So we got our small overlap front, rated good. Now, this looks dramatic, but we always have to remember that the whole point of these crashes is that the car dissipates the energy to the environment and itself, not to the occupants. That is a significant amount of intrusion. I'm not used to that coming from Tesla. Same with that roof crash test. Oh my goodness. I mean, these are good. They're just not overbuilt like I'm used to seeing. All right, head restraint's good. What is this test? I think it's just a photo. Anyway, let's see if they have any more videos. They do not. So, as I said, it's the Camry of electric cars. It's just unoffensive, does what it's supposed to do. It's not too expensive. It's got a decent range. It's not at all fast. uh, it is what it is. And you know, if you gave me one and said drive this, I wouldn't turn it down. Unless you try to charge me for it, then I would definitely turn it down and get something that I want. This one is a little more fun. 50% for some other companies here. That's good. So this one is a little more fun. As I said, Tesla has broken ground on their Megapack factory in Lathrop, California. So the next question this begs is, right now all the Megapacks are coming from Giga Buffalo. So is this to just speed up production so they now have two mega factories, or are they, well, not mega factories. Okay, so this is a mega factory, not a giga factory. So is this just to assist Giga Buffalo, or is it only going to make mega packs and they're going to then use that capacity for something else? What is the deal? Somebody was complaining about golden shovels. I agree, it's weird. But it's what we do, so it's not too weird. And right down the street from the Tesla warehouse, which is good. Sawyer Merritt. The factory will be used to ramp production of the new larger versions of the Megapack that use the lithium iron phosphate battery cells from cattle. Okay, interesting. I'm curious how this plays out, and as we have said, you're going to need some place to put all of this energy that you recover from renewables, because most renewables are not, I mean, they may be predictable, but they're not constant. So you'll need a way to store that power when you don't need it and then use it when you do need it, because often when you need it, they're not producing. So, like at nighttime, the sun has gone down, and unless you have worldwide power interconnects, which we don't, you'll have to have stored that power somewhere in order to use it at night. All right, so we've got some more Elon Musk tweets because those are fun. Oh, I think I'm just clicking too fast. So this one was in response to Blue Origin and Amazon suggesting that the reason that, not Amazon in this case because it's just Blue Origin, Amazon was on the Project Kuiper. They're suggesting that the reason that SpaceX won their human landing launch system for the moon missions was because they're going to be skipping flight readiness reviews, which is one quite a bold claim to make, especially when you look at the contract and it says that they will still be doing the flight readiness reviews, and two, that they don't cost so much that it would have been, you know, the billions of dollars difference between SpaceX's proposal and Blue Origin's proposal. Jeff Sue. So Elon responded to that we always do flight readiness reviews. This makes no sense. Flight readiness reviews are standard for every SpaceX launch. SpaceX will continue to do their flight readiness reviews. And they're conducting multiple Starship launches in support of the HLS missions. So, oh, so I liked one of the arguments that came up on this that they said that they lied to NASA about something that NASA themselves said in one of their own reports, which is a very bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. Because to accuse the government of not doing their jobs, it's just something interesting to me. It's like, oh, there it is. Just get a message. Let's see if I can't do this. Oh, I can. Perfect. So Marcus has shared these with us. So this is Evie Smoke as she sits today, or he as he sits today, because Evie Smoke is a man. Isn't that sharp? Don't have to worry about that whole parachute issue at the track, do you? Ah, oh, the wrap is done. This is my first time seeing these particular pictures. Awesome. Last time I saw it, the wrap was not complete. Wow. This vehicle is going to tear up the track. They won't know what hit them because it'll be all the way down the track and they'll just be getting started. Cool thing about this parachute mount is that it is removable so that the car returns its stealth look when it's not attached. I don't think you'd even need to use it to the parachute other than for compliance because the brakes on it are pretty decent. Because he's going for drag racing, he's not going for circuit racing. There it is getting installed. Is that how you pull it? I guess that's how you launch it. Let's see the play sign. Oh, music. No music. There we go. Consumer Reports price verdict on Tesla's by the yoke. Publication says the yoke serves little benefit. Yeah, that was funny as heck because right after this, they got or right before that, they got the Nürburgring win. Where they are installing the parachute. Oh, this one was interesting to me. This is the car that I don't know if I showed it on this show or on the Tesla Life show, where um, this dude paid extra for Model S Plaid and then rolled it through 7 feet of water. I just I don't understand. Nice. Can't wait to see it. All right, so let's look at. I talked about this in the intro as well. The Mazda MX-30 with its 100-mile range is now certified for Canada's IZEV rebate list, which means that you'll get $5,000 off of a 47,000 or less sticker price for the GT trim level. 47 grand for that thing? Seriously? Ooh. Well, anyway, if you had to have a Mazda but you want an EV and you're fine with 100 miles or less of range, you can now save $5,000 in Canada. Yay. Will be used by the two total people who buy this car. You may be overly generous with the rest of it. 161 kilometers is range anxiety range. Oh, I mean, I keep saying more options are good, but I just don't understand. In today, that would have been a great car 10 years ago. Today, it's I don't know why Mazda. Just double that. It would be fine. 200-mile range, great. 100-mile range, what are you smoking? All right, this one's coming from Teslarati. The Giga Berlin 4680 battery factory is coming together. Some folks were saying that this was an optimistic conclusion to draw, but coming together doesn't mean finished. So, but this is good because in order to reach full capacity, Giga Berlin and Terra Texas are going to need to be able to make batteries on site, and in order to do what they want to do, the structural pack, which is built around the 4680s, but doesn't have to be, having that done would mean that they can do their goal. All right, this one is fun, I think. No, it's not fun. This was one for me to rant on. May Mobility announces the A2 Go autonomous shuttle in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The free on-demand service launches next month, and I wasn't ranting on their tech. I was ranting on the fact that this is a gas car, because Lexus doesn't make any electric cars. And from what we've seen from everybody else, the autonomous vehicles of the future are going to be electric. Even Waymo, theirs is a plug-in hybrid, but this is just a gas hybrid, if or gas car. Period. I'm not sure if this Lexus is the hybrid model. So one step in the right direction, several steps in the wrong direction, because you want to reduce the impact of cars on the environment, and making a large gas SUV doesn't do that. You can see the LiDARs everywhere. So we'll see how this compares to Waymo as far as performance. I don't imagine it. Okay, this is the hybrid, the 450h. I don't imagine this will be as successful as Waymo, but I like the fact that it's free. I'm just very disappointed that it burns gasoline and it's not a plug-in. Right, got another article on GM's Ultium Motors. And then Jana wrote a piece about wings and some people. Jana wrote a piece about the roots and myths of Tesla union controversy, and then Elon interacted with it, which is the reason I went ahead and brought it up. So this guy was asking about pay at the Tesla factory, and then Elon goes on to say, why he thinks it's a good deal. And I thought it was an interesting read. It wasn't too long of a read, but you can find that over at Clean Technica, and it's titled "The Roots and Myths of the Tesla Union Controversy." I've said several times, and I think this is the case, that basing on what I've seen Elon tweet and talk about, it's not that he doesn't want them to be a union. He just doesn't want them to be UAW union, because this union left the factory in a lurch before Tesla even bought it. As it was a Toyota GM factory, they just pulled out and left in 2008 to protect their core. And he didn't want to see that happen again, as far as, because what Tesla does is definitely not the core of what the UAW does. And on top of that, they don't do anything that the UAW does. They don't have a transmission factory. They don't have an engine casting plant. They have very little use for what's done by this particular union. In fact, I've seen Elon call the folks at the Met, hey, you want to have a vote on union? Let's go. And then it just doesn't happen. So her article was something further on that topic that I thought was an interesting read. Interesting picture. Doesn't come out so well on my screen because it's huge. Let's try it anyway. Yes, Robert. So there are some unions in Tesla. They have Tesla automation in Germany. I do believe Tesla Tool and Die in Michigan is also union. So it's not like they are averse to unions. They just don't want that particular one. So this was a nice little picture for me of all the rockets of the world. And I remember when the Starship was just the BFR. It was actually slightly shorter than the Saturn V. But now it's not just more powerful, it's also slightly taller than the Saturn V. That is coming from Universal Curiosity, and they came from Visual Cap. So if you want to download this graphic, which I do, let's put this in my downloads. You can find it there. Stuff. I like rockets. All right, so I got another Elon tweet while we're here on Twitter. Oh, I think we discussed this elsewhere with the subscriptions being eligible for the FSC beta. But that's okay. We've got more Twitter stuff. Elon said the Tesla insurance calculator will show status in real time and tell you what actions are needed to be rated as a good driver. Real time was a bit of a stretch, but shortly after each drive wasn't too far off. Oh, okay. So if I put it at an angle, you can see it. So my safety score is a 98. Got something for this. 1 second. So my safety score is a 98 after 3 long driving sessions. And you see that my problem is the aggressive turning. Which I got much better at after I learned how it tracks it. I didn't have any problems with anything but unsafe turning and hard braking, which also got better. But my hard braking was always less than everybody else's. And that's my overall score, the 98. But then you can see they've got, you can compare them daily. So if I go back to yesterday, I got a 96. Sorry, I don't have a iPad screen share tool. I guess I could hook one up. I wasn't planning on this. And then today, I got a perfect score of 100. So I'm getting better at it. And it's not quite real time, but it's close enough to be able to make improvements. So, not a bad deal. That way, I would have had it on my phone, and I definitely do have a way to share my screen on my phone, except that the official Android app is lost, just like the updated one was for a while. And you could sideload it, but I don't want to sideload the keys to my house-priced automobile. Yeah. So that's what Elon's talking about with the insurance calculators. And more tweets. So this one was a unique and useful interaction with Elon for me. So we're back on that same thread, and Tesla and the Gong asks, is the insurance calculator in shadow mode world over? Elon says no, because it has to be turned on by the car owner. As I'll show in my video, you actually have to agree to several items about how this is going to work because of the privacy implications. And then Elon deleted that tweet. Oh well. So if you're on autopilot, how does it calculate it? And Elon said, autopilot calculates as good. And not only does it calculate as good, but autopilot is able to get away with more shenanery than I am. I let it do the cloverleaf turns, and if I was coming up on a yellow light, I would turn on autopilot so that it would do the hard braking for me. And life hacks: use autopilot. But the problem is you have to watch it. Like all the places I needed to use it to keep my score today, there's one where it likes to jump lanes as you go through the light. It goes from the right hand lane to the middle lane, which is dangerous and illegal. So at that point, rather than yoink the wheel back, which is what I typically do because that would rock the vehicle, I just held it firm, and then as it tried to steer, it couldn't, so it released, and then that was good enough. Major bars that withhold someone from entering the FSD beta program. Yes, hard cornering and not having your hands on the wheel. Exactly. There we go. So, has anyone else got the download? And what is your safety score? Drop it in the chat. I want to see how everybody else is doing. I wasn't really trying to brag on it, but more to give you an example that it works, and it shows you what you need to do to improve it. So, I'd like to see what you all did. So we talked about the Model Y approved in Australia. The standard range, long range, and performance models, all with 5 seats. So the 7-seat model has not yet been approved. And I'm curious if they will anytime soon. And then Elon was responding to a tweet that I thought was quite a good idea. Max was talking about how we fixed the ozone hole that existed when I was a young person, a child. He says, an international climate treaty, is it hopeless? No, because that is how we fix the ozone hole. Thanks to the heroes in this video, we can succeed again with their future on climate. So Kurzagat also did a video on that this week, where they were talking about whether any individual can do anything to fix climate change. And the answer is no, an individual can't do anything to make a dent in climate change. But all of us together doing our small parts that we can do, combined with all of our governments and all of our large corporations, the largest polluters in the world, if we all get together and do something about it, then we'll see a chance to minimize the damage on this thing. I think we're getting right up against the point of no return as far as whether or not we can do the 2C agreement. But even if it's not perfect, why not do something? Which is what we keep saying with autopilots. You know, so what if it's not perfect? It's better than nothing. So, tweets. So yeah, we talked about Elon said he didn't decide on a 4th gigafactory. It's in there twice. Giga Berlin internships. I think I had a loop in my show notes. This one was fun to me, and I'm looking forward to it. Of course, if my driving is good enough and I get accepted, then it won't matter anyway. So Earl was talking about how his car doesn't handle some cones very well in 10.0.1, and then Amin says that didn't they also fail in 10.0? And Earl confirmed that they did fail on that version as well, 3 to 4 times, but now they're down to 1. And Then Elon says that 10.1 should fix that last cone in his video. And then this guy, Electric Ralph, made Raphael, I get it now. He made a really good point, and I agree with it. He said, "Is the FSD visualization coming to non-FSD beta testers in Europe, for example?" And he thanks him. And Elon says, "That's a great point. We could enable visualization before control. We'll enable that option hopefully next month, because if your car has the hardware, but you're apprehensive about how well it's going to handle, if you can see what it can see and what it's thinking, that might make you more comfortable with purchasing the FSD or FSD subscription. Or if it's not legal in your jurisdiction, then that might make your regulators who also own a Tesla, it might make them more comfortable, or have access to a Tesla, it might make them more comfortable with what the car can see. So that way when Tesla brings the test models up to them to get certified, they'll be more familiar with it. They won't be like Senator Ed Markey is super afraid of Autopilot, and I keep offering to you, Senator Markey, to come take a ride with me, either in Massachusetts, my grandma lives there, or here outside DC. I'm right outside your office, Bo. We can go for a ride and see how the system is something that you can understand and legislate from a position of knowledge rather than making laws out of fear, sir. All right, so back to non legislators. Let's get back on track here. Close this. And Austin Tesla Club has another mobile service tweet. Oh, my computer is skipping the chats on me. Sorry about that. I'll get back to them in a minute. So Austin Tesla Club said Tesla mobile service came today. They brought the parts to fix a minor electrical issue under warranty, and they were fast. Thanks, Tesla. So yeah, up here in the DC area, our mobile Rangers are mostly in Model S's. There may be a Model X running around. I don't know. And there are definitely at least one or two of the vans, the Ford vans, still running around. And it's just awesome. Like I said, just be either at work or running your errands or at home and not have to make extra trips and extra efforts to deal with getting your car serviced. And as I said, the mobile techs, they are just so pleasant to interact with versus almost any other experience I've had in automotive, even being on the other side working. So, all right, so I don't want to close that just yet because I caught up to where it was. Stand by here. Bear with me while I continue to load articles. That inability to load the show at the beginning messed me up a little bit. YouTube video. That was a mistake. Why is it loading YouTube? So, come on. Computer's mad at me because I just opened up like 6 links at once. All right, so we're going to share this one. And Tesla Megapack and solar are to replace a 562 megawatt megawatt coal plant in New Mexico, according to Clean Technica. That one's from Jana as well. And I thought it was interesting because the whole argument is always that, oh, yeah, we need coal, and it's never been true. Well, not since we had solar plus storage, and here, there's people trying to keep this plant open, but it's not necessary. You can replace it with batteries and solar, and it'll work day and night. Good news. Let's see about the comments I missed. Someone say they were going to use the internal camera to watch you as well. Yes, they have already started. There are several different versions of this. They've got the one where just the basic one right now, where if the car thinks you're playing with the phone, it will try to catch your attention, it'll make you respond and confirm that you're paying attention more frequently, at least twice as much, twice as many checks. So there's that. But then there is the functionality in the FSD beta for the people who already have it, not the people in test. Those folks, Tesla is using this data to determine if you can stay in the program, because if they think you're being unsafe with the software, they don't want you making them end up in the news. So that's what that's all about. We've got the Cybertruck guy was tweeting with Elon. Says he got a actual auto insurance quote in New York City for $500 a month for our Model Y, and he's floored. If that's the best I can find, I can't keep this car. Elon, we desperately need Tesla insurance in New York. And then Elon responds that the regulatory process for approval to offer insurance is extremely slow and complex, varying considerably by state. Tesla is hoping to offer real-time, based on actual driving history, insurance in Texas next month, probably next year before we get approval in New York. And when you consider that next year is just over 2 months away, and then Elon time, you're looking at another year probably. But this is really kind of cool, because the current Tesla insurance, it can vary by up to 50% each month. And it's not exactly based on all of your driving habits, because as we see today, it just now, well, Friday, I should say, Saturday morning, it just now allowed them to collect the minutia. Whereas before they were getting general statistics, like, hey, these people drive this much a month, and they supercharge this much. They know where you were going, that sort of thing. But now they know how you drive, and so they can use that to further mitigate their risks. Which means that if you're a bad driver, you'll pay more, and if you're a safe driver, you'll pay less. And as we saw with using Autopilot, then Tesla is taking that risk on themselves. So hopefully the Cybertruck guy will be able to keep his Model Y with the outrageous insurance rates. Rodrigo mentions that they had the same problem in Mexico, and Elon says hopefully worldwide long term, but insurance is regulatory labyrinth escape room. Yep. Insurance is... You got all the actuarials. All the number crunchers. Then another Elon tweet. Says, I hope you get fans like the one I showed you in the picture. The Vauxhall Opel fan EV, 300,000 were ordered here. That's great. Elon said that he wants to do vans, and then we've seen Ford is doing the Transit as an EV, as well as Lightning Motors is doing the larger Transits as a conversion. So I think next year will be the year that we really start to see vans in the US as EVs, which is necessary. Because just like you guys in Europe, we use vans for our contractors a lot. And then you also use it for like shuttle buses and items like that. So we need vans as well as electric pickups. And so what Elon's responding to here was, as we said before, in Berlin on delivery day, Tesla just kind of takes over the DMV. So notice that every single one of these is a Tesla Model Y. All Model Ys, because this was Model Y delivery day in China, except for that Camry over there. Oh, we saw a similar scene like this. Oh, okay, that's a Polestar or a Chinese one, and then more Model Ys, and then something like a Buick. Last time we saw a scene like this, it was all Model 3s on the first Model 3 delivery day, and a couple others after it. And that's why I'm hoping that now they have this delivery center, that the DMV can put an office inside their facility. He's asking when it was taken. Saw one similar a few weeks ago. Ava says that it was in September. Tesla's going to focus on China in the third month. And then Elon clarifies, says exactly. Giga Shanghai makes cars for export in the first half of the quarter, and then cars for faraway parts of China, then for nearby parts of China. It's the same thing he does with Fremont, and that they will be doing with Giga Berlin and Terra, Texas. The net result is a crazy wave of deliveries at the end of the quarter. It is tough on our team, so we are hoping to reduce the wave in Q4 and Q1. He said this so many times. I don't think that's ever going to change, at least until they get their fifth Gigafactory up and running. But I do believe that having Fremont, Terra, Texas, Giga Berlin, and Giga Shanghai running at full capacity will make it easier on the Tesla employees going forward. Because right now that is some incredible stress they all go through. So here we've got some stats for you. This is coming from Tesla Facts. Human pilots are terrible. In the US, there's about 2.74 million crash injuries per year. About 0.3% or 8,000 injuries are in crashes with emergency vehicles. The NHTSA is only aware of 17 such injuries since 2018 that involve Teslas, which is well below the share of miles driven. Then we've got these photos. The total number of traffic injuries involving an emergency vehicle in use was estimated to be about 8,000, or 0.3% of all estimated traffic injuries that year. So, as we discussed earlier, the NHTSA admin on that politically charged, not to say politically charged, on that biased, they weren't impartial. On that non-impartial podcast, was, it just seems that they're jumping into something unnecessarily. Teslas with unconscious drivers will also automatically slow down after this update upon seeing police lights. I think I have a video of that for you guys. If not, then oh well, it works. I've seen it. So new in Tesla 2021.24.12, it's in the owner's manual for the Model 3 and Model Y. It says if the Model 3 and Y detects lights from an emergency vehicle when using auto steer at night on a high-speed road, the driving speed is automatically reduced and the touchscreen displays a message informing you of the slowdown. You'll also hear a chime and see a reminder to keep your hands on the steering wheel when light detection passes. When light detections pass by or cease to appear, the autopilot resumes your cruising speed automatically. Alternatively, you may tap the accelerator to resume your cruising speed. Never depend on autopilot features to determine your presence of emergency vehicles. Model 3 and Y may not detect lights from emergency vehicles in all situations. Keep your eyes on your driving path and be prepared to take immediate action. My vehicle has done this a few times. I don't know if it was on purpose and if it was this system, because I don't recall seeing any messages or hearing any chimes. It has also started to slow down and move over for emergency vehicles. Not move over in another lane with Navigate on Autopilot, but it like it does for the trucks, where it just hugs the far boundary of the lane line. The slowdown I had, I don't know if it was because of the system or because the traffic in the lane to my left had slowed down or started to slow down. That would also make my car slow down as well. The moving over has been for quite a few versions now. I want to say the last 8 updates, and I appreciate it because it makes it less likely to have a collision when people won't move over. Something we have with this dense traffic here is you'll have an emergency responder, you'll try to get over, you'll turn the signal on, and they will close the gaps that you can't give the emergency responder room. And it's not safe to stop either, because then you've got a bigger problem than the vehicle stopped in the shoulder. So the moving over in the lane helps. So this guy says that to make this comparison, you need to also factor in the ratio of Tesla to non-Tesla vehicles and prorata that into the stats to get Tesla's fair share. Instinctively, 17 feels low and thus good, but that could be misleading given the ratio of Tesla versus others. And Tesla Facts responds with correct. The factors you mentioned I refer to as Tesla's share of the miles driven. 17 injuries are just 0.07% of the 24,000 relevant injuries over that 3-year period. Tesla miles driven is 0.3 to 0.6% of all miles driven. So Teslas are around 4 to 10 times safer around emergency vehicles than the average US vehicle, which I thought was kind of cool little bit of stats. So let's see over here. Loading up more links because we're not done yet. All right, so since it doesn't look like I'll have any co-hosts on today, I do have this article that, or not this article, but this company that our friend Terry Travis found for us. I saw him on a previous show. It's called, come on, computer. It's mad at me for loading all those tabs at once. Come on. It's called the Proteus Electric or the Derek Automotive Technologies, and this one I introduced in the show as probably a scam because it appears to be an MLM type situation for cars, and what Derek Automotive they're talking about rendering of their first dealership. All their vehicles appear to be Chinese vehicles with American scripts, and they claim that they'll be having a 1,500 to 3,000 mile range EV, which, as we all know, is extremely unlikely with today's technology. But worse than that is it's actually a hybrid. So they claim to be able to be doing this on 10 gallons of gasoline to go 1,500 to 3,000 miles on 10 gallons of gasoline. And they don't mean by like Chevy Volt did, where you could go 1,000 miles on a tank by counting the charges from the wall. They're not doing that. No, they've got all this pseudo technology. They've got cool sounding names like a warp coil generator. What is this, Star Trek? They got a counterpoise prime mover. They list their patent numbers, and they say they put fast chargers inside their vehicles, and they're talking about how they've got fuel to electric SUVs. So basically, physics tells us that converting this energy from one type to another is going to involve losses, and they claim that they can do all this with two 16 kilowatt hour packs. Remember, the first Chevy Volt had a 16 kilowatt hour pack, and it could do 40 miles, and it was a compact car by every description. It was compact and heavy. So two of those, which would give it 60 miles if it was a Volt. So they claim they can do 120 miles in their SUV on the same battery pack. For whatever reason, they say they've got two independent packs. I don't understand the need for independent packs. So 5-gallon fuel, 16 kilowatt hour pack, they claim will get you 1,500 or 3,000 miles with a 10-gallon tank. The amount of space that the gasoline tank takes up, you're going to need that for your batteries. And this right here sounds like some Lexus Europe garbage. So that's 300 miles per gallon electric plus the elimination of plug-in recharging. So that means that it's going to be a gas car. And there's no way they can get these numbers off of gasoline. And you don't need a battery pack that big for a gas car. They say they think we're bluffing. Watch our project. I'm not going to give them that. So then they say that if you reserve, where to go? Basically, you reserve and then you get your friends to reserve, and it just seems like a big old scam right there. 1,500 down payment certificate for only 1,005, 33% savings with affiliate code, and what do you guys think? Is this, to me, this just screams this is a scam. Aside from the numbers not working, and we were discussing that it seems that it's trying to take advantage of people who don't understand the physics, don't understand EVs, they don't understand hybrids and fuel savings, and they're not savvy investors. And then we discussed that perhaps after they get bamboozled by this company, that they're going to take off on all electric cars. They're going to say, yeah, we tried the electric thing, it doesn't work. Or I lost my life savings on electric. So I really don't. I mean, because obviously none of us are going to fall for this. But what do you think this is going to do for normal type people that don't understand the scam of it all? There's just no way that's legit. I only have two links at a time. That browser wants to restart. I think that's what we're working with. All right, so NASA is asking, is there oxygen on Mars? And technically, yes, but it's nowhere near the amount on Earth, so breathing is out of the question. There is lots of carbon dioxide, and with this new technology, we can convert Martian CO2 into oxygen. Engineer Assad Ubiker explains on their YouTube video. So this is talking about the Moxie experiment on the new rover, and what they're doing is they're converting the CO2 from the atmosphere into oxygen and water, which I think is pretty cool. Or sorry, oxygen and carbon, and so this is very similar to what SpaceX is talking. They're going to use the Sabatier process to refuel the methane into the Starship to get back home. So you'll take the atmospheric carbon dioxide and whatever water you find on the planet, and you'll be able to make your oxygen and your methane for your propulsion to launch back to Earth, which I think is pretty cool. I don't think it will work that way because trees don't survive in that environment. It could start, but not nearly enough room. Deforestation is not the cause majority of excess carbon in the atmosphere, so reforestation cannot fix it alone. Most of the excess CO2 comes from fossil sources that were locked away underground for the last 300 million years. Correct. So, Workhorse, unfortunately, is suspending deliveries of their flagship van. Workhorse used to be Thor Automotive, and this is coming from Autoblog. More testing and modifications are required to meet the regulatory standards. So they need to. I mean, safety is important. So it's disappointing, but it's not. It's not a. It's the right thing. And then you got the Transit Electric coming out, so there are vans, but Workhorse was delivering today, and now they're not. So Slayer Merritt got a little birdie. They say that the Tesla 4680 yields are good, and they're still working on the throughput. Many variables at play. Increasing the speed uncovers simple engineering issues that need to be adjusted or fixed. The 4680s have been in production for a long time now on the pilot line. Some 4680s are going to multiple testing facilities in the US and Germany. Other 4680s are being used by the structural pack engineering team, and the rest are being stockpiled. It is unknown how many they have stockpiled. Initial 4680 production capacity installation at Giga Texas will be around 500,000 vehicles per year. And let's be clear, this is just the initial capacity. The capacity will increase over time, and quite significantly with added 4680 production lines, which are modular. And we saw this with the Cato Road, because the Cato Road, they mentioned that they could basically forklift this into the other plants as they dialed it in. Tesla's been very happy with the progress, and they haven't hit any major hurdles recently. All the FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt, that the 4680 design will fail or is bad, they need to change the chemistry, blah, 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 isn't anywhere close, etc. All of that is completely wrong. What Tesla is accomplishing is mind-blowing. For more detailed info, you can listen to his episode below. So he's got a new thing they call the official X-Pod. You can take a listen to that. There we go. Next up, page is gone. Well, never mind. This one was, I don't know why I didn't put this in as a headline. This came from Club Rivian on Instagram. Yeah. Human pilot strikes again. That is a Rivian prototype that went through a bush and then collided with several automobiles. Um, depending on what the real cause of this collision was, somebody is going to have a really bad day at work. And if it wasn't the fault of the driver, like say for instance, if they go through the logs and it really was unintended acceleration or whatever else could cause this, then somebody else is going to have a really bad day. Tesla Tino asks, how long before the media blames this on stupid Tesla Autopilot? I was going to say 2 weeks, but more like 3 minutes. Right, and that's what I was saying. It says probably driver error. Does anyone question that? No, not really. I don't think I've seen anyone in the thread suggest it's not a driver error. There was a news article on it too. Let me see if I can't find that where they covered more. I can't. Come on. My computer is like super mad at me. So Torsten points out that the last car in Norway, the last ICE car to be sold in Norway, will be in April of 2022 with the current treadline. And then he thanks Elon for extending their sustainable future. And then here is his chart where he thinks that the last car will be sold in April just by the math. And it's as I said, nobody wants to be the bag holder for the last combustion car in your country. Here's his source. This guy thinks they'll stop at 95%, 95 to 99% of the market. Well, here's the thing, Mr. Funny Things Happen, is that as we saw in the previous article about the 28 municipalities that are stopping the sale of gas vehicles, this is going to happen by 2025, whether they want to or not. So your corner cases don't matter. And then it's going to get worse when there's nobody buying gas. There would be less reason to keep as many gas stations open. And so then you think range anxiety with an electric is bad. At least you can plug in to a granny lead and get electricity for your EV from nearly anywhere in the world. You can't just make gasoline. Not the standard, run of the mill folks. So what's going to happen is it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Not only do you not want to be the last person with the gas car, you also don't want to not be able to refill your vehicle, because the whole point is that it's convenient to get you from point A to point B. So if you can't buy the fuel, you're then going to get rid of the car, and then you will conform. So, dinosaurs walking, baby. All right, so here I'm calling this one another person loses their job. The reason I call it another person losing their job is, as Sawyer Merritt says, Giga Texas is looking good as ever. This guy says working late. I don't know. Like I said, my computer's mad at me. You can do it. Can you do it? Let me refresh. You do it. You've got bandwidth. You're just mad at the memory. So either way, this guy is photographing or videoing inside of, which one was this? Giga Texas. And is this worth your job? It's not. I don't think it is. So, I mean, but for all of us, it's fun to look at. And one could say that us looking at the leaks contributes to this, but you won't see me leaking anything from work because it's not worth it. So, that's exciting because that means that we're getting there. So now we've got another chart. We're looking at at the fastest 10 selling EVs in where in the world? In the world. So we've got the Tesla Model 3, followed by the Wuling Honglong Mini EV, which is in China. And I don't know that it's a real car, but it does outsell the Tesla Model Y by a small margin of 25,000 vehicles. Then the Tesla Model Y, the Nissan Leaf, the BAIC EU series, the VW ID3, the SAIC Baojun E series EV, which is definitely a Chinese vehicle. So that means this one might also be a Chinese vehicle. Then you've got the Hyundai Kona electric EV, the Audi E-Tron, which is, I'm surprised that a premium EV made it so high up the list, and the Renault Zoe, which is the, as Omar has helpfully explained, is the European version of the Leaf for places that don't have the Leaf, because you can buy the Leaf as is in some countries in Europe. So I thought this was cool. It's amazing how much, because we were talking about how that Chinese EV in number two space was so far outside of Tesla, because that's just how it's going in China. But it's amazing how quickly the Model 3 surpassed it, and then how much the Model Y came up, caught up to it. So I bet the next time we see this chart, that'll be the Model 3 and the Model Y, and we'll probably see the Model Y up top, because as Elon said, that the Model Y is probably going to be their best-selling product worldwide for quite a while, at least until the $25,000 car comes out. This article on electric, Tesla is fighting auto industry over fuel economy standards. I thought I read this one, but I did not. I just put it in the chart. So Tesla is fighting over CAFE standards set back in 2016. Under CAFE, that's just the regulations for our automotive fuel economy here in the US. The penalties were set to double this year under an Obama-era rule, but the Trump administration froze them in an action taken days before leaving office. Yeah, that sounds like him. The NHTSA, the agency in charge of CAFE, has been considering reversing the Trump administration action and has been taking comments from both sides of the situation. New documents are revealing who is on each side. I bet you Toyota's against. So let's see. Reuters reports that Tesla met with NHTSA last month and pushed for them to reinstate the penalties because they're already compliant. The government memo said that Tesla suggested NHTSA withdraw the Trump action immediately, saying it produces continuing uncertainty in investments and transactions across the industry, and any delays will continue to have deleterious effects on the credit market until the issue is resolved. They have a point. It added that Tesla believes that any delays will continue to have deleterious effects on the credit markets. So they repeated themselves. Interesting. On the other hand, GM, Ford, Volkswagen, and Toyota all announced commitments to an all-electric future, except for, in their letters, they wrote, a group representing them said that they asked the court to reject Tesla's request that Tesla might benefit from more certainty about the worth of the CAFE credits it has amassed is hardly a reason to cut off ongoing administrative process, the group wrote in a court filing. Doublespeak from Toyota and friends, as we expected and have seen time and time again, because as green as they claim they want to be, they also are dragging their feet and hedging their bets that they don't have to do anything new, because not doing anything new is cheaper. They're already invested in that, versus having to fix themselves and do something new is going to have a cost, and your bean counters don't like that. So they are careful to say that they are against higher fuel economy requirements, but they don't want NHTSA to reverse the action, since they might have to pay penalties for model years all the way back to 2019. I mean, that's a simple solution. Don't make the original penalties apply, make the new penalties going forward apply, and you're done. I mean, I would be upset if I had to pay back penalties too, so I kind of feel what they're going for here, but nobody expects that you'll have to pay back penalties. Let's see. Racer X has a YouTube video where they claim that the Model S Plaid has ruined everything. And they're right. Their ultimate claim now is that if you want to modify or tune or deal with an existing car that is slower than the Model S, you're doing it for fun. You're not doing it to actually make a performance car, because what's the point? Somebody pointed out to me that this is a 2016 Lamborghini that beat the Model S Plaid around the Nürburgring by, what was it, 20 seconds or so? So, I mean, that might stand a chance, but how often are you driving around the Nürburgring? Where most normal people are driving in straight lines when they do their acceleration, because they're accelerating from a light. They're on the highway. They're not on a circuit track, and the Model S isn't actually that kind of race car. It's not built for circuit tracks. It can handle them just fine, but they've still got more to go. I mean, the Plaid Plus was canceled, and then you've got the various new roadsters coming out, the regular base model and the SpaceX package. So, not to say that they're done. They're not done by any means. But Racer X had a point. The performance numbers are undeniable, and it costs less than some of these other alternatives that are slower. So, this is what his video thumbnail looks like. It's called "The Tesla Model S Plaid Has Ruined Everything. Here's Why." There's lots of loud engine revving. His volume control is just out of control. I think it was a 20-minute video. 15-minute video, sorry. Yeah, so check that out. So this one I found on Twitter, and the detractors were complaining about the range. Is Equipmake and Bulas unveil an electric double-decker bus with a 543 kilowatt-hour battery and a 250-mile range. And so the folks that were complaining on Twitter were suggesting that 250 miles wasn't enough, and then myself and a few others pointed out that it's a city bus. It's not a coach. So 250 miles is probably double or triple what it actually needs to do in a day. Obviously, a coach, you might want something closer to 500 miles, but this is not a coach. And when you look at how much pollution comes out of a diesel, liquid petrol, or any other combustion hybrid bus, just nuking all of that and replacing it with electric is, especially if you do solar powered electric, that's phenomenal. It doesn't even have to be solar; it can be wind, because Germany and the UK and all them, they have a lot of wind power in addition to their solar power. So I thought this was cool. They call it the Joule E. I think that having the batteries down low would also solve some of their weight problems they've had in the past with these things. Just the weight distribution. So manufacturing will begin later in 2022, and it's the first bus to meet Transport London's 2024 bus safety standard equipments, which begin in the UK in early 2022. So yeah, that's what I was saying about the weight distribution. There we go. Hey, Kevin Smith. Adding racing brakes, aero tires, and Lambo is trouble too. Yeah, exactly. Because stock. You don't want to be the stock car. I believe Unplugged Performance is actually at the ring this weekend. Oh, sweet! I can't wait to see that. They have a phenomenal YouTube channel, and they do a good job of documenting some of the stuff they've done. Excellent. All right, so this one is out of Drive Tesla Canada as well, and it's about FSD Hardware 4. So they suggest that Samsung is going to be the manufacturer of Tesla's Hardware 4 board, or at least the chip. And this makes sense because right now they actually manufacture the chip for the Tesla designed for hardware 3, which is the full self-driving computer version 3 that we're all running around with today. So it's Tesla design, and then Samsung builds the chip and assembles the boards. So with what we've seen from Samsung's suggestions on, they're going to be the ones making the cameras for the Cybertruck, which they did, just like Elon describes 2 weeks without calling out 2 weeks. Samsung describes Cybertruck without saying Tesla or Cybertruck, and if you consider that they're making the cameras and they already make the existing chip, it makes sense that they would also make the new chip. So it's not a wild guess. They're saying that the new chip is going to be 7 nanometers instead of the 4 nanometers or 5 nanometers because they have better yields. So you waste less chips on the older, more stable process that's better, well understood, than on the new cutting edge 5 nanometer process, which makes sense. And you probably also save money, and we know that Tesla loves to save money, so that's a good little bit of speculation. And there was an individual saying that that Hardware 4 will be a drop-in. That individual's Tesla Twitter account has since been deleted, so we don't know how much stock you can put in anything. People were already questioning their credentials as it was. But Elon and Tesla have already told us in the past, like I started with AP 2.5, they told us in the past that if we need upgrades to get what they promised us, that they will be included in our upgrade price. And as we saw with the subscription, you have to pay for those upgrades before you can then continue your subscription. So if hardware 4 is needed to complete what they've sold us, then we don't have to worry, it's coming. But from what Elon's been hinting, he seems to think that hardware 3 is enough to get full self-driving as promised, and then hardware 4 would start with the Cybertruck next year. So we'll see. So then Teslarati reports the same thing, and this one was interesting to me. BMW has started shipping the BMW iX to European dealers. Look at that! Including the beaver grill. I call it the beaver grill because it's got like big old beaver teeth. And it appears that the hatch is open on that one for whatever reason. That can't be good. It is open. Well, at least it's not in motion. I don't see any point to have the hatch open in the air like that. There's a strong chance these are not customer cars, so they could just be going on display either at actual BMW dealerships in Poland or pop-up stalls usually placed in malls or places that people frequent. Electrify all the things. Good job. So it starts in Germany at 77,000 euros for the xDrive 40, and the more powerful variant kicks off at 98,000 euros. My goodness. So in the US, they begin at 83,000, and it's only available as a 50 model. So I guess that's the performance one. And BMW UK, you can get it for £69,000, but their deliveries are expected 1 month later than in other European markets, which makes sense because you guys have that whole right-hand drive thing going on there in the UK. And then part of the reason I wore a what you got here? More downforce on the back trailer for those high-speed turns. yeah, but if you guys saw this week the GMC Acadia that had the power trunk that would reach the apex and then slam shut, this would very quickly become that car in a few years, months even, if you did that. So as I said, I'm wearing the Falcon Heavy shirt today. Now we've got an article on Falcon Heavy from Teslarati. SpaceX's next commercial Falcon Heavy rocket launch is to carry the Astranus rideshare satellite. Satellite is moving from SpaceX's Falcon 9 to Falcon Heavy and launching as a secondary payload instead of a primary payload on the Viasat-3 mission in spring of 2022, enabling Astronus to bring its broadband service to Alaska months faster. And Dan pointed out that this would actually make them a SpaceX competitor as well as customer, because SpaceX is also servicing Alaska with satellite internet from the Starlink system. So they like money. They need money to complete the mission, so it makes sense. What do y'all think about that? Launching your competitors into space, literally. Putting up some more tabs because I ran out again. Just load them all. No, I don't need to do this again. I think I'm gonna try to load them all. Stand by. The computer's gonna be very upset at this. Can I do it? So I'm gonna have to find somewhere to drive on Monday because I don't have anything scheduled. But I'm not sure if you need to drive all of the 7 days to get the appropriate data for the self-driving beta next batch. And want to go see those twin birds landing? Yes, it was phenomenal to see the original ones go on the demo mission, and I can't wait till I can see the next one. But even more than that, now I'm looking forward to Starship. I don't know how I'm going to pull that one off, but I would like to see Starship in person because I've seen Falcon 9, I've seen Crew Dragon, and I've seen Falcon Heavy. So now I need to see a Starship to complete the current set. So that's exciting to me. Computer is very, very upset with me. It's crawling. All right, so this one is fun. If it will load. It might not load right away because it's mad at me. Got it. Oh no, that's the one we were just talking about. Astranus. Come on, you can close that one now. The good thing is part of the reason it's slow is there's a browser update that's waiting to apply. But since I do this in the browser, I can't close the browser yet. It's back. All right, so Tesla defends Giga Berlin in what? Too many cases they had to defend Giga Berlin for me to talk on it without seeing the article. Okay, let's do this. They're reporting that they're what? Sorry. There it is. So Tesla defends Berlin and proposes a response to the critics' concerns as final approval nears. That is actually a continuation on the one that we just did. So they expect to set expectations right. It may take several weeks or days, but we'll see. That's coming from Alex Voigt. Skip that one because it's not the one that I read. So this one is the one I was getting ready to talk on. Elon suggests that the chip shortage is a short-term problem and will likely be over by next year. During an Italian tech event on Friday, Elon predicted that the semiconductor crisis will be over by next year. I don't know if that's going to be for everyone or just for them. But as we've seen, the chip shortage is shaking up the entire industry, and not just the auto industry, but like everything is that needs a chip is delayed. I mentioned the story. I ordered a new pressurized water type flosser, and even that little chip that the thing might use to control what pressure it's doing and how much power it's using delayed that. So it'd be nice to see this this come back to normal. So this one I liked. Volvo has released an electric excavator and loader as an alternative to the diesel variants. So let's skip through and see the product. So there's the excavator or loader. And then there's the, oh, come on. There it is. And there's the excavator. It looks like a small one. Yep, it is a small one. But hey, you've probably seen these guys running around as it is, like on job sites where they're just burning propane or liquid natural gas or liquefied natural gas, I should say, or diesel. And now, I think some of them even run on gasoline, but now we can do it all electric, which, as we keep saying, electrify all the things. Let's see if they give any stats on it. I bet it'll run all day and maybe then some. So, reduction of 6 metric tons of CO2 emissions for 560 gallons saved of fuel over an estimated cost of $2,400 over a diesel machine. So yeah, so you'll make this up in maintenance rather quickly. Hoping it would say charging time. I only picked them because of the pictures and what they were. All right, so customers are used to using various sources such as 240 AC power grid, fast charging, mobile, and solar. Oh, that's cool right there. And when you think about it, most construction sites where you're digging in dirt, they don't have a lot of cover. So you could point it straight at the sky. That's a good idea. Neato. Next up. All right, so that one is, oh, here it is. It's loading now. This one's coming from Electric, and it's another police Mustang Mach-E. Very similar to the one we saw in Montgomery County, or yeah, Montgomery County. This one is it's passing the Michigan State Police test, which is pretty rigorous. Unless a police car passes this test, it cannot be put on the purchase list for the state of Michigan. So passing that is a substantial milestone for the Mustang Mach-E, especially since Ford already has purchase agreements with with a lot of the police forces and states and cities all over the world. So this is a 30-second video. Let's mute it. So that'd get me my hard turning score right there. I don't even squeal the tires when I get my hard turning score. And then they're charging it up, fast charging it over CCS. Ford Pro. Electrify all the things. So, speaking of Volkswagen, disappointed in Volkswagen yet again. This isn't about their Camry style vehicle. They are still using a defeat device according to EU legal advisor. So he alleges that they reduce pollution control in temperatures below 59 degrees and over 91 degrees because those aren't on the test. And as we saw with their original emission control defeats, they detected the test and then were on their P's and Q's. And then when they determined they were no longer on the test, they didn't do so well. So this is no good. Not at all. They're going to need to do something about this. I was watching a history on VW a while ago, and this skirting the law is not new to them. They even started to do stuff like this in the 30s, so the 1930s. So it gives you an idea of company culture from then to now, and they just need to stop. So over at Tesla Careers, they have a listing for a production associate on the Pilot cell line manufacturing over in Fremont. So if you want to build batteries for Tesla, go ahead and give that an apply. The fact that they're doing this is, as we said in the previous article, or the tweet storm by Sawyer, that they are making progress towards the new batteries, which is good. Next, RJ Sarange had a special night with some of Rivian's earliest reservation holders and employees. Take a look at that. So some of these families have been helping build our company for over 11 years. Thanks for all the hard work and dedication. So that's what you like to see, a little bit of appreciation for your people. Drive Tesla is asking, are we going to see any in Canada anytime soon? Sean Mitchell is pumped for the team and the customers. Tesla Club of San Joaquin Valley. It's awesome. Huge congrats. And then, this is the one I was attempting to load earlier before the computer told me no. The U.S. Space Force has awarded SpaceX a $14.4 million, I don't know if it's a contract or research program to develop Starship's Raptor engine. They're already doing it anyway. This is like a coupon. Here, let's make this easier on you. So the United States Space Force announced it awarded 4 companies contracts to invest in the development of next generation rocket tech for engine testing and upper stage resiliency enhancements. The 4 companies included Space Systems Command, or in the Space Systems Command's fiscal year 2021 are SpaceX, ULA, Rocket Lab, and Blue Origin. So, assuming that Jeff got enough money, he won't be suing the government for this contract. It was a $14.47 million contract to work on a prototype project to develop Starship's Raptor engine. The other companies received contracts to develop other applications for their launch systems, including ULA getting $24.35 million for uplink control command for Centaur rocket, for Centaur 5. Rocket Lab was awarded $24.35 million for upper stage development of their Neutron rocket. And Blue Origin was awarded a contract of $24.35 million for cryogenic fluid management on the New Glenn Stage 2 vehicle. So it seems that they were just kind of like tossing out money to their other contract winners for finishing projects that they had underway. So SpaceX on the Raptor, Blue Origin on New Glenn, and Rocket Lab on the Neutron. Cool stuff. And we've seen them do stuff like this before, where they give away some money for just technology that needed to be done. Get in the home stretch here. Tesla Scope found images that were in the. Again, I kind of do these in the order I find them in, so I could have just showed you on my iPad. But somebody cracked the app and Tesla Scope lifted the images. These are from the section of the app where it teaches you how to drive better to get a better score. This one is following distance. This one is hard braking. This one is I don't remember what this one is. And this one was the warnings for the alerts. One hopes you don't have to buy Tesla insurance to get the button, and you do not, which is true. Here we go. Calop is the one who pulled them. ABS events, auto steer strikeouts, drive hours. forward collision warnings, headway ratio, which is the following distance, and longitudinal acceleration variance. So apparently I'm good enough for the button, but I probably would lose some points in the actual insurance because I accelerate quickly. Still. I accelerate less quickly than I did before Friday, but still. What is drive hours? The more you drive, the better. Driving too long. See, again, they're an insurance company, so doing more driving would put them at more risk. So it would combine with your other scores to determine what they did with you. I did include it. Look at this. This is what we talked about earlier with the Tesla slowing down for automatic slowdown for emergency vehicle lights, and this is on Tesla North. And where's the video? Here on Reddit. Reload. Now it loads as I leave. Either way. You play? There you go. Play for me. I don't think that's me because I've got bandwidth. So while we wait on this, basically the guy is driving his Model 3 or Model Y in the dark, which is one of the requirements for the system to function. And then they get a message on the screen about how the car is slowing down, and then it does. Auto. Data quality, will that work? Back to work. Maybe it's caching there. I think that's just the Reddit player. So what we'll do is we'll leave this here. We'll unmute it so I can hear it. We'll move on to the next thing. Robert says that he is also having internet trouble, so it might not just be me. So Bhutan is now the world's only carbon negative country, and climatecouncil.org.au is asking how they did it. So it's a common, what? Carbon negative is a neat phrase, blah, blah. So it was a combination of being a smaller country, so it was a little easier for them to handle, as well as carbon credits, if I read it correctly and remember it appropriately. And so they're asking why Australians should care. Well, Australia was on fire a couple of years. They had flooding. Why shouldn't you care, Australia? Come on. So Bhutan has done it. Now let's see some other countries, particularly bigger ones, follow along in their footsteps. Let's see if my video is loaded. That. Then those are unrelated. That was just people talking about Bhutan. Jay in Shanghai has some pretty cool news right here. From Tesla China. They've opened their 100th supercharger, and it was built at the supercharger factory in China, which is pretty cool. They also put that Tesla China delivers, or Tesla CEO delivers the Tesla Model S to 7 owners April 23rd, 2014. On the same day, they opened their first supercharger station in Shanghai. So from 2014 to 2021, they opened 100 sites. The Tesla's first supercharger station in China. Fast forward 2021, the 100th. Yeah. 100 stations already just in Shanghai. More than 1,000 stalls. That is really cool. It's not the last we'll hear of superchargers in China. My video is still not loading. Either way, I described it. Basically, there's a car on the side of the road with the lights flashing, and the car does what it should do. Tesla releases version 4.1.0 of the mobile app I showed you on the iPad. You can download it on your iPad or iPhone, and the Android version, as I said, is available to some small subset of devices, or if you do the sideload, which I can't recommend. But folks like Green the Only and others have tried the sideload, and it works fine, and it does show you your safety score. Some cool things that they allowed with the new update and a future software update is it allows you to do scheduled charging for your car's current location, which is nice because today to do scheduled charging you have to go touch the screen. It allows you to enable bioweapon defense mode on supported cars, and allows you to access your owner's manual and video guides in the service tab, and it also allows you to just charge current as well, so you can raise and lower your amperage from the app. That requires vehicle software version of 2021.36 and up. And currently we are on 2021.32 and change for the people who aren't in the City Streets beta already. Let's see, Drive Tesla Canada said this is going to come in handy in Canada in the winter. They have a defrost button in the app now as well. Let's share you a screenshot of that. This was exciting to me as well because my car lives outside. Just live retweeting while we're here. All right, next up, Tesla has a site for the safety score. For those of us without the app or without the score showing up in the app, they tell you what it's based on. They give you an example of what it looks like. And then here they tell you the 5 things they're looking out for. So forward collision warnings per 1,000 miles, hard braking, aggressive turning, unsafe following, forced autopilot disengagement. And then they give you the formula for how to determine, or how they determine your score. And then they convert that on a 0 to 100 scale with this formula here. So I like the openness here because a lot of things with Tesla aren't always so transparent. And so here, regarding safety, this is a nice touch. So they had a couple frequently asked questions I wanted to highlight. What's required to get a safety score? You'll see the safety score on your home screen in the app. Your vehicle has to connect over cellular or Wi-Fi, they say. It used to just say Wi-Fi. The vehicle must be on 2021.32.22 or later. And you need to have a trip that's at least 0.1 miles. I've seen a lot of people in my Twitter that have taken very short trips, and we'll see what happens to them as far as if they get in or not, if they just take their short trips and then park the car. Will I have a safety score if I don't have connectivity? In the event that your vehicle does not have connectivity while on a trip, you may not receive immediate feedback at the end of your trip. You'll receive your updated driving information safety score once the vehicle has connectivity. Premium connectivity is not required to receive a safety score. That's good. And they called it real-time feedback. So every time you take a trip in your Tesla, safety score for that day will be updated. At the end of the day, your safety score for that day will no longer change, which makes sense because it's no longer with that day. It's all my driving captured. Captures all trips of any driving, including reversing and reversing. Yikes! So you got to be careful backing out of the garage or around the driveway or whatever too. Had a forward collision alert while autopilot was engaged, and no, that won't affect your safety score. And how will I know I've had an event that would contribute to my safety score? Well, I showed you on that app. You get a nice little. And this forward collision warning is not based on what you set in the car. It is locked to Tesla Medium by Tesla Insurance. So if you have it set to low or high or whatever it is to make the car give you less warnings, it's still recording them, and they still count against you. So now you just don't know that they've happened. So I wouldn't bother messing with the warning levels, trying to game the system. Yeah. So then they tell you more about how to get better scores. So this is more related to Tesla insurance, but the system uses that. Kevin notes that autopilot time is ignored to drive manually a little more than usual each time if you're heavy AP users. So the little thing, each little thing doesn't count as much as percentage wise. Exactly. Um, if it's something that autopilot can handle, like a yellow light coming up and it's going to cause a hard braking event rather than you taking the hit for hard braking, turn on autopilot. Assuming that your autopilot is good enough to stop for lights, and assuming that, well, I guess, yes, assuming that you have purchased FSD or subscription, because if you have basic autopilot and you try to, for some reason, you have the safety score system and you try to use that, the car will sail through the light, and that is deadly dangerous. So don't do that. But if you have a car that has the stop sign, stop sign control, stop light, and stop sign control beta, and is turned on, I use that to stop for my heavy stops. That way, they don't count against me. But yes, you have to do some really good manual driving as well to offset your averages. So they're talking about here the Tesla insurance and the driver score, but a lot of it is weighed to the insurance. So the estimated premium is based on the simulated daily score for informational use only. Your actual premium will not change more than 50% in a month based on your safety score. Amounts displayed are per vehicle and based on the current policy coverage and elections. Safety scores used to determine actual premiums are based on a mileage weighted average of the daily scores over the past 30 days. So that's where the 30 days came from for insurance. The majority of Tesla drivers are estimated to have a safety score of 80 or higher, and in the Tesla website they said 80 to 90. Or no, they said 80 as well, 80 or higher as well. But there was at some point they said 80 to 90, and it quickly got updated. The higher your safety score, the more you save on insurance. You'll be notified 30 days before any changes in your premium. Improve your safety score with these tips. And let's move on to the next thing. Tesla Scope reported that the safety scores appeared, but as you saw, they do. William Shatner is going to be going to space on the Bezos rocket with its unique shape. I don't know why he didn't choose to get on the SpaceX rocket at this point, because it's cheaper and you actually get some real flight time rather than going to the edge of space for a few minutes. I mean, we saw with Inspiration 4, you got 4 days in space for, what was it, a couple $1 million versus a couple $1 million to go up and down. They might have something to do with him being, he'll be the oldest person ever launched into space, according to the report. So my next thing is, let's see, right now I'm looking up to see how much it costs to do a. Okay, so that might be why it's a little cheaper per seat, 125,000 per seat versus versus 200 million for a commercial crew. Is it worth it though? I mean, you get so much more out of it. So, all right. So if you're pinching pennies, you just want to see the Earth from space for a couple minutes. It's expensive, super expensive. Versus if you and 3 of your friends split this, you get a much better experience, but it's still more expensive. All right, so now the Model S and several other owner's manuals are available online. And not that they weren't before, but they were PDFs before. Now they're interactive. And in fact, even the car has a search now when you're in the car's manual after you wait for it to load. So you can just go through the manual without having to search a PDF. Then we've got what do we want to search for? Warnings. So it comes with pre-filled searches, which are cool. And then I clicked on pedestrian warning, and it loads. Look at that. It's done. I like it. So they have Model 3, Model Y, and Model S, and I'm not sure if the Model X is up there yet. But if it's not, it will be soon. And I think it should be, because the one I used in the car, it was formatted like this. It wasn't as fast to use because the browser in the car is still terrible. That was a Model 3 manual, which doesn't. We don't need to look at that because it's the same situation. Oh, there's Model X. So yes, that answers my question. They're all up there now. For software version 2021.32. And I like that it's updated per what I was looking for is to see if we had the same warning as the Model 3 about the lights in the dark. Search for only at night. The mirrors. They only work at night. At night. One thing about this search in the car is the car actually gives you a list of items that could be. So, how to meet electrical EV demands and maintain a stable electric grid by Autoblock. They say require coordination among stakeholders, behavior changes among the public, and this isn't that big a deal, really. We survived the change to air conditioners in a really short period of time. Electric cars aren't going to kill the grid. It's just a matter of fact. The grid can handle electric car charging. Can it do it better? Absolutely. Can you do things to make it easier? Yes, you can. But is this something to worry about? There's no need to worry about this. Tesla Supercharger user experience lead Michael Riani is leaving Tesla, and sometime in October, he's on break now, is going to be doing something new. Rivian begins R1T deliveries with the first units handed over to longtime employees. So that same set of photos we saw from RJ is actually part of the employee delivery event. That's cool. So you get to actually try out the thing that you built before they hand it over to customers. All right, we talked about safety score all day today. This one was kind of neat to me. And I've been thinking it, and I was surprised that they didn't do it yet, or they didn't mention it yet. So Space.com suggests that SpaceX Starlink broadband satellites could be used for GPS navigation. And when you think about it, the existing US GPS is not geostationary. There are, was it 24, 40 something satellites? I think it's 20 something. They are in a midpoint between geostationary and low Earth orbit. And aside from the really accurate clocks that they have on them, that's really the most of what makes GPS work. Then you've also got each GPS receiver knows right about where it should be expecting to find each satellite based on the time that it's emitting, and so then it can use math to figure out where it is in relation to what it sees and hears from the signals, which is kind of cool. So I think the math might be a little bit harder with Starlink because there are so many of them, but with so many of them being closer, you could probably find your position faster, I think. So we'll see if they do that. And then it was also suggested that they could be used for imaging the planet. And then in the thread I was involved in, folks suggested that they don't need to be on all of them. So half could be GPS and half could be imaging, or they could sell their platform, access to their platform, to places that need whole globe coverage. So that's pretty cool. Researchers triangulated signals from 6 Starlink satellites to fix upon a location on Earth within less than 27 feet, or 8 meters of accuracy. That's pretty comparable to typical GPS satellites of a smartphone, which typically pinpoint your spot on the Earth to within 16 feet. So that's really cool, especially when you consider the cost of a Starlink versus the cost of a GPS. GPS takes a whole rocket for one satellite, and for a while they made them throw them all away, even though they could come back. And now they actually launch on reused boosters. I think they even use reused fairings now, so they came right around. Let's see. Eavesdropped on the signal, so they're just using. So they might not even need to add anything. Is what this suggests. That's cool. So that's at space.com. SpaceX's Starlink broadband satellites can be used for GPS navigation. Give it a read. 8010. I got that same article twice for some reason, so that's that one as well. And here it is. So this was the one of the conversations I was involved in. So imagery would be a no-brainer as well. Heat detection for forest fires, etc. I don't think Starlink constellation will limit itself to just data transmission. And we've seen where Elon said that they will do SpaceX Wi-Fi in the next commercial crew, or at least I say, well, in the next civilian space flight, like Inspiration 4. He also said they're going to adjust the toilet because apparently it could have been better. Shoving too many things in a single satellite could be a problem for weight, cost, and power supply, but they could have a slot for one and an extra module for each. Considering the number of satellites, they could be 1,000 with imaging, another 1,000 for navigation, etc. And this guy says, excellent point. Not all applications need full continuous coverage or have equal requirements for coverage area. So that would be really cool to see them do. Tesla Shanghai is to make 300,000 cars from January to September, despite the chip shortages. So I think that Patrick and was it Patrick and I, or was it Patrick and Mark? Either way, on the Tesla Life, we had a bet regarding how Giga Shanghai's performance would do, and it looks like they are going to do just fine. That's coming from Reuters. This one was good to see, considering the way that most of the incumbents price their EVs. It's not usually this nice. The Mercedes EQS EV is going to actually start out costing less than a base model S-Class, which is good. Now, both of these cars will be well equipped with no options, but I don't know anybody that buys a Mercedes with no options. So who knows where they'll actually end up. But let's see, at launch, the EQS 450 Plus and EQS 580 4MATIC This car doesn't have a transmission. Come on, this is just like Porsche with the turbo on the Taycan. There's, I understand it's a brand name, but the 4MATIC, that's some fossil technology. You don't need to pretend it exists on the electric car. Anyway, pricing for the EQS 450 starts at 103,000, and the 580 starts at 120,000. Both figures include 1,050 in destination charge, but do not include government EV incentives or taxes. The exclusive models are priced at 106,000, 123,000. While the Pinnacle sedan scales 109, 126. While the S Class S500 4MATIC starts at 110,000, and the S580 4MATIC. So that part makes sense if you're going to compare. It allows you to compare them directly. They start at 117,350. That sounds higher, or lower, I should say. Or theirs higher. How do you say that's lower? Well, if you consider the fact that if you can afford to buy one of these, you probably also qualify for some incentives. That would make it cheaper. Doesn't sound. I mean, they're close. I like that they're close, but only the base model is cheaper in the electric 110 versus 103. The 580 is cheaper as a fossil. Do better with your headlines, Autoblog. They link to their tweet, and Dodge and Maserati and Mercedes all responded to it. But, oh no, those are Twitter's trying to help me out with related tweets. All right, so this one is a beer distributor has decided to augment their compressed natural gas fleet with electric Volvo trucks. So Manhattan Beer Distributors is going to add some. Is from Tina Casey. It's going to add Volvo EVs into their fleet in New York City. So electrify all the things. It's good. Glad to see it. And I'm not going to get that video loaded, am I? Nope. So as I said, we'd come back to Tesla China, and let's take a look at Tesla China, will we? This is from China News at eChina News. Tesla is glad to see a number of laws and regulations that have been released in China to strengthen data management. Tesla set up a data center in China to localize all data generated from business there. Elon Musk said at the opening of the 2021 WIC in Wuhan Summit, or Wuzhen Summit, sorry, not Wuhan. Earlier in the year, we saw China react to the cameras on the Tesla all of a sudden out of the blue as if they were a security risk. And as Mike pointed out last week, that actually points out that the Chinese cars might really be a data risk for us, because that's, if they thought of it that way, then that might be something they're doing. It's projection, if you will. But to make them more comfortable, Tesla is setting up local data so that way they can be sure that nothing is leaving their country, which is a smart move on Tesla's part. And you'd kind of like to see. I would like to see the same for like Europe and the U.S., North America situation where we get along better than they do, but this has been something that's come up in other industries such as drones. We want to make sure that our drones in use by the military and police forces aren't sending data to China. So I mean, we do it to them, so it makes sense that they would do it to us as well. I thought that was pretty cool. It's the right way to do it. My video is still not loaded. Let me try it one more time. All right, so now the whole page doesn't load, so that's fine by me. So, catch you on the flip side next week. So, this is my main camera for everything, and in it is some footage from my FSD, the button, and this week I plan to combine that with a selection from my previous deep dive videos where I went through and found all the stuff that's changed and not documented in the Tesla software updates. And I had a lot of critical reviews of the software, and I was thinking that I would do a separate one for this build for the deep dive, but from what I've seen so far after about 5 hours or more of driving it, is that it isn't any different from the previous builds, other than it tattles on you to Tesla about how you drive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine that with the most recent one, and then put that one out, and then I will go back and just put all my summaries together for the other ones, the older ones than that, and then I will release a series of just the drive segment videos for those of you guys that like to see how Autopilot performs, and then anything odd that I saw that I snagged a video of for the, like, say if it did something weird like avoiding a pothole or a branch in the road, that sort of thing. And then I haven't forgotten how to make pre-recorded videos. I'm not just live streaming, so that's what that is. And I'll catch you all later. Have a good day.